right, welcome to the Tuesday, May 2nd Planning Commission meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Does anybody have any corrections, comments, concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from last meeting.
Got a first
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We only have one action item this evening, and it's a use on review for campers at 2350 Park Avenue for Sturgis Meats.
Cindy from Sturgis Meats has submitted a conditional use on review application to allow campers to house security for her business, Sturgis Meats, at 2350 Park Avenue. In 2018, the owner of Sturgis Meats Company, The Gaps, were given permission by Planning Commission and Council for a temporary office structure for no more than 3 years to allow them to expand the business with office space. Per the use and review application process, notifications have been made to landowners within 200 feet of the property and signage placed on the property for at least 21 days. We did send out 9 letters. We only received 1 back, and that was a denial. 8 were not returned. The denial did voice concerns of the campers do not meet code and making the value of the property surrounding them less valuable. Code reference is Title 18512. Budget impact, there's no anticipated budget impact at this time. Staff makes recommendation to approve with stipulations of allotted time for applicant to make more permanent arrangements, like a camera system or a fence. You will see pictures and the beacon map, and we do have representation from Sturgis Meats if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. You come up to the mic so we can ask you some questions here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a plan to make security better there besides the campers in the future? Or?
Yeah, here's a situation. During COVID, we had USDA came down with a food defense requirement that was pretty robust because the packing plants were seeing increased traffic and people, trying to break into the plants. And actually, we saw the same thing. As you guys know, our parking lot is pretty open, and we just put our, meat scraps from the day out in the dumpster, and we denature them, so it hopefully deters people from, scrapping around in our garbage. But during COVID, we had, lots of people looking for bones and meat scraps and that type of thing. So that's when we decided that it was really important to comply with USDA for our food defense plan. And that was at basically the request of our third-party audit. When they saw, kind of our back door, they're like, well, gosh, why don't you guys secure this a little better? And so it's problematic because we have trailers that drop the animals off into our inside barn, and it's really hard to do a fence, but that is our long-term goal, is to put a fence all the way around the plant. But we have to design it so that, that people can drive in and drive out, and we haven't, that's hopefully something we can get to, maybe not this summer, but by next summer.
Okay.
So is there people living in these campers that are on site?
We have staff that stay in the campers on the weekends and at nighttime. Not every day, but we're finding that if we have people in the campers, that it really, we haven't had any traffic and people just drive through our parking lot. They don't do that anymore. So just by having the campers parked there, believe it or not, has really deterred our traffic. But we do have people sporadically staying there, so you never know when they're going to be there. We don't have a full-time security person there all the time.
Well, and I know the city has an ordinance on campers. Can you refresh my memory on what that is?
Campers can be parked for 21 days.
21 days. Isn't that 21 days in a year? Or is that
Yes.
21 days and then there has to be a break and then 21 days?
21 days break, and then, but you can,
What's the
you could
break
stay.
period?
I don't know the answer to that.
When I bought the plant in 2020, I believe, the Gaps had, you know, a house that they had, you know, that you mentioned. And they actually lived there. And that would also be, you know, something that would be, you know, an option, something that we could actually put a residence within the lot. But the campers for now seem to be a reasonable alternative.
Is it just the 2 campers?
Yeah, it's just the 2 campers, right? And it was the little one first, and then we added the bigger one.
How many people are staying there then?
You know, there's anywhere from 1 to 2 people. And it's not, you know, it's sporadic. So we might have somebody stay in the campers, you know, a couple nights a week or sometimes 3 nights a week. And definitely somebody, you know, one of the weekend nights.
Is there what's the reason for 2 then? 2 campers?
Well, the little mini Winnie was our first one. And then it's kind of small and not as comfortable as the bigger one. So we brought the bigger one in later just because it was more comfortable. And, you know, if it's a choice, one or the other, it'd be fine. I mean, just having a presence there is kind of our only concern. And that seemed to be an affordable, you know, kind of reasonable solution for us. And we could put a more permanent, like, house-looking structure back there as well.
I guess my thought is, I know there's been other complaints within the city on campers being lived in. It's against the ordinance. So there's that, you know, so looking at that, we gotta be fair across the board as well. You know, if it's a more permanent structure, then there's the building permit and that part of it that you gotta go through to get that.
And I did just look it up. In her zone, there is no use of campers. It's 21 days in residential per year.
And there's nothing said about,
The general commercial zoning, no. Or I'm sorry, highway service.
Highway Services use of no campers whatsoever or no limit?
No use of campers.
So
Yeah,
And the
no, they are at the
gaps-
back of the plant, but there is, you know, there is a business behind us that can view them.
And just for reference, the Gaps had a use on review for the office, not for residential living. Residential living, to build a structure there would not be allowed with that zoning ordinance.
thank you.
so were the people like just getting into the garbage cans or
Yeah,
get in your building?
yeah, were getting into the garbage cans. We had a couple people try to get into the buildings. And, you know, our building is pretty secure, and we do have security cameras outside. But it didn't, you know, that didn't stop anybody from trying to dig through the garbage. And it was really heavy during COVID. I mean, people would drive up and they'd, you know, try to offload a bunch of meat scraps into the back of their cars. And that's when we decided to do this. Was right, you know, I was like, well, what can we do? We just need a little bit more of a presence. And, you know, I don't know what would happen if we remove them, if we'd have the same problem again. And that is a problem with a foods facility, and especially a USDA one, because we are, you know, very highly regulated. And, you know, we have to have a robust food defense program. And the other alternative would be to build basically a, you know, really big security fence all the way around the plant, which we could do. And, you know, probably in the long run, that's what we should do.
That's what I'd like to see.
I guess the thought I have on this, being there's several ordinances that are in violation, is, you know, give you this summer, which would be 3 months, to get a fence up or security of some sort to, or at least secure those areas that are the problematic areas.
Sure.
You know, maybe it's a bullpen type fence around your scraps. I know you got a truck that comes in, picks them up,
Yep.
so you'd have to have a drive gate for them to back in. But it wouldn't be the whole facility, so it wouldn't be as expensive.
Yeah, it'd be basically the whole back parking lot area. Yeah, and in the front, we never have really an issue in the front.
Right,
It's
so
just the
that's
back.
more the storefront,
Right.
Right.
It's just the backside.
right.
Are you able to just secure the garbage cans? Like, could you just lock them closed and open them?
Well, I mean, there's city garbage cans, and that's really hard. Just because, you know, our cans, I don't know about anybody else in the city, but ours are always in various stages of, you know, cracks and such. I'm not sure. I mean, if we had a different type of can, maybe a metal can, we could do it, but we have these big plastic ones.
you got the big-
Those don't move around very easily.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a different type of trash can, that would be probably a good solution.
Have you talked to Public Works about that?
No, but that's a good suggestion.
By city ordinance, meat scraps are not supposed to go in those totes. Those are not meant for
The
that
city
kind of
totes.
disposal. Correct.
Yeah.
They should not be going into those totes.
Now, do you have
by
a contract with
ordinance.
a company that comes and picks up the scraps? Or how do you dispose of them?
Well, I mean, it's, I mean, they all go to the dump. They all go to the dump out in Belfouche. Yeah.
But is it a different contract?
No, I mean, the city picks up the garbage cans.
Right, the garbage itself.
Yeah, and then we actually have a service that takes stuff out to the dump, yeah.
Yeah, a rendering service.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's
Similar.
no rendering here, but yeah, that's essentially what happens, yeah.
It's a gut truck.
It's a gut truck, exactly.
But are those containers in such a way that you could secure those? Because that's where the meat scraps are, that's where the people were going. You know, that you could secure that to where they could still get in and do their service, but have them contained and fenced off.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably look into that as far as getting a different type of container.
Now, I'm looking for a solution.
Yeah, no, I
That-
understand.
Isn't as expensive as fencing the whole property. I understand that's a pretty significant cost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind fencing it. But yeah, I mean, securing the containers would be the easiest thing. I'm not sure that would, I mean, maybe it would deter people from being back there.
Right. It's gonna give them a little bit harder time.
Yeah,
They
for
can't just
sure.
drive up to it. You know, as a solution to the problem that we're seeing here tonight, that might be the easiest and the
Mm-hmm.
quickest in in a 3-month window to have it done during the summer
Sure.
when it's decent weather. I get why you wanna say summer, because it's easier to build.
Yeah, way easier to build. Yeah, and definitely a security fence. What do you think, Diego? I mean, that was kind of our long-term vision, was a security fence.
But I think it needs to be sooner than next summer.
Yeah, that'd be fair.
And hearing the comments from the rest of the board, that's kind of, that'd be my feeling.
Yeah, 90 days for the campers to stay there, and then
And then after that, the campers are gone and some sort of security.
Sure. Yeah, that would be good. We can,
And I guess I can put that into a motion at some point here, if that's the way we want to go, but
yeah, we still need to.
have the discussion. So, that's my thoughts.
yeah, and if you guys don't mind, if I could run it past our USDA,
And they
Folks.
may allow you to just fence the scrap area, and that might be your defense.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean,
Because your live animals are inside, so they can't get to those.
yeah, and I think on this USDA food safety defense thing, they're really concerned about people breaking into facilities. And, you know, our problem is this plant was constructed in 1964, so we're kind of grandfathered in with a lot of the construction. So modern day plants have to have 2 entrances. You have to, like, you know, be able to cross through 2 to get into the inside of the building. We don't have that. You know, 1 door and you're in. And so that was another thing. especially in the backside.
So this is just a thought, if you did a chain link fence
Yeah,
with a cover over the top, with a locked gate,
that would take care of our two gates.
there's your two
Yeah.
entrances. Because, yeah, I'm sure the construction of it and the way the plant's laid out, it's not feasible to take floor space to put that second entrance.
It's really not it's built.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's the old way of building. They did the minimum.
yeah, it's definitely, and it's been added on to over the years too. I mean, so,
And they met the requirements for that time,
sure.
but that might be another option to, you wouldn't need more than about an 8x8 attached to your building, and then
Secure it,
Wouldn't be a
yeah.
permanent structure, so, I mean, you just use the fence and it's not,
just a
Yeah.
building permit would take care
yeah,
of
simple.
getting a fence put up.
Yeah, and even if we have to, I'll have to check with the USDA, but we may have to actually build an entire fence around that whole back area.
Okay.
And if we do, we do.
And I'm
I mean-
saying 90 days, but if it takes longer than that for the USDA, you'll just have to come back and let us know.
Right.
Because I know it is the government.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and as you guys know, we have, 3 full-time inspectors on site all the time, so,
Right.
okay. No, that would be great. We can live with that, for sure. And I would appreciate that.
Let me, make sure, is there any public comment from anybody else or any other questions from the board? Okay, now I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to allow the campers to stay for another 90 days. In 90 days, campers need to be moved, with the exception of USDA not getting back to you on acceptability. And then at that point, you would have to let us know. You'd have to come back to the building department and let them know. And
That sounds good. I appreciate it.
come up with a solution that's hopefully feasible and workable for both sides.
Okay.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate
you.
it. Thanks for your time.
Is there any other things for the board this evening?
We do have 2 annual reviews. That I didn't change. We have the massage therapy at 101 David Drive, no changes, no complaints. And we have the in-home beauty shop at 122 Maple Drive, no complaints, no changes. So those will be renewed for another year.
All right. Motion for dismissal
I'll make the motion.
first,
I'll second.
and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, have a good evening, everybody.
What, Tony?